Hi everyone. So today we have the author Raj Thambu with us. He has written Lakshmana's Last Stand, which is a very interesting book. I read it and I could not wait to interview you. So I thought let's have the interview as soon as possible, and I'm really glad that you could spare the time to join us finally. So before we begin with the discussion of the book, I'd like to first know about you, what do you do, and later on we will dive into the details. So please share a little about yourself.
Absolutely. And first of all, thank you, Akila, for inviting me to your show, and hello to you and your viewers. Good morning to you all. So, as you said, my name is Raj Thambu, and I live in Bangalore. I've been here for 15 years. I was born and grew up in Chennai, but I've also worked in other countries. Currently, I'm actually, this is my debut book, but my regular job, with this was I work at a US-based multinational bank, and been in sort of a banking sector from a professional point of view for close to 2 decades. But more than that, as I've just been a student of history, and all our Puranas, and I, like many of you and your readers and viewers, I've always grown up watching, those kind of epics, and history and Puranas have been like my binding thing. It's fun. Married, and my wife and have a daughter. They live with me here, and so that's in a nutshell who I am.
So we will have a discussion about the book and everything related to that. But before that, I would like to know what was it that inspired you to write, first of all, this book, and why particularly from the point of view of Lakshmana? Why were these things and how did that happen? Please explain.
So inspiration to write a book, something like this has been there, frankly speaking, like over 10 years, 10, 12 years. Both my parents, my late mother and my dad, both are authors. My mother is a teacher, and she has actually written an English grammar book, and I'm talking the 80s, with illustrations and all. So she made English grammar sound very cool and fun back then.
Me also.
Yes, it's a dry subject. So there is that creative element and the book writing thing. And my dad is a professional. He's 80 plus, and he's still very active in his field, in the field of PVC and plastic. But he's written a technical book on PVC and extrusion and all that. So I suppose my first inspiration is from that. And I also have an uncle who's also written a book, maternal book. So that sort of runs in the family. But you specifically asked, like, why about this? Like I said, history and these Puranas sort of appeal to me. And somebody that's been working in a corporate professional setting, naturally a lot of us sort of draw leadership inspirations from living past legends or mythological legends. I'm no different. For me, there is a lot of alluring elements from Ramayana and Rama and all that. But as a history student, what really made me curious is the later part of the Ramayana. Okay, so great. He fought the battle. He defeated Ravana. He came back. Is it like happily ever after? Actually not. It's not happily ever after. There has been turmoil in his life and challenges in his life and all that. But from a history point of view, India, the subcontinent, also went through a lot of tumultuous changes. We came after like a collapse of Indus Valley civilization, and we picked it up. We became a powerhouse in iron technology, iron age weapons and stuff. We thrived as a society. We were still rich. We had all our trade networks. All of these things still continue to happen. People dispersed, and yet, we still had that. So I felt like there must have been some sort of a a transformative leader that took from a collapse, jumbled all the pieces, broken land, and kind of unified that under a very different ideology and all that. And I could not think of anybody but Rama in that context, and that's sort of how I viewed it. And hence the inspiration for this book is sort of comes that. But you also asked a question as to like why Lakshmana's point of view, and from a storytelling, when I first got the anchor of history and Ramayana and the later part of Ramayana, from a writing aspect, there are hundreds and hundreds of versions of Ramayana. I do not claim to have read.
I have heard that there are around 300, if I'm not wrong.
There are definitely, over that, and more plays and short things and short stories from Ramayana episodes.
And there are different versions throughout the subcontinent also, if I'm not wrong.
Probably. Throughout the subcontinent and everywhere. I mean, throughout Southeast Asia, everywhere there is something or the other. But I don't think of, in my limited, as much research that allowed me to do, I couldn't see like a point of view type of a thing. And point of view, actually, I anchored on only from, there was a Malayalam writer, he's not there anymore, like Jnanpith Award winner, M.T. Vasudevan Nair. He had written Rendam Mooram, which sort of loosely translates into a second turn sort of thing. There is an English translation by that name. But it was a masterpiece, and the Mahabharata was told from Bhima's point of view. So one of the Pandava, second Pandava brother, right? That point of view, like, wow, that just gave me just a natural attachment to that. There is also like, I haven't watched this fully, but I've seen like the Z TV or Star TV, I don't know which one had like 10 years back, Siya Ke Ram. There was a Sita's point of view, Rama, some serial.
I'm not aware of this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if it was that popular or anything. So listen, I was a little skeptical, because if nobody has written that, there are two things, right? One, maybe we shouldn't do it, or maybe there is an opportunity there. I just took a chance, and let's see how it turns out. And for me, Lakshmana was a best person, because from birth till the last, he's been there in pretty much every scene of Rama, with him. He's been his shadow. So I felt better than him to kind of, talk about Rama and Rama as a person, Rama as an individual, what goes behind the scenes, how does it mind work and all that.
Since this is in the context of history, you must have also done some research work in this.
Absolutely. I mean, see, obviously the research definitely includes rereading some portions of, itself, just to kind of brush up and be more familiar with it. From, like I said, there is a lot of history and, that element. So I did kind of read up, and, I've visited places in Lothal in Gujarat, and, and believe it or not, my inspirations have also been in my travels in Turkey and Greece, etc. Like these are all Bronze Age civilizations that are contemporary to Indus Valley civilization itself, and there are those kind of connects that you get from those ruins when you look at it and you read up about them. So that's over the years of accumulated research, and specifically I did have to periodically refer to some journals or some archaeology magazine and history magazine or published articles that are available on on the internet. Yes, Kalyan Raman is a very, very noted scholar, on Indus Valley civilization, Saraswati. He calls it Saraswati civilization. But anyway, the controversy side apart, that's not my forte. I wanted to pick the pieces of the weapons, the tools, the more less fun elements of history. The history, for an average person, is always about the kings and the queens and the battles and all those things. But for me, I had to weave the other elements that is less told, because that we already have a king, we already have the villain, I already had those pieces. So now I needed the other part. So that required some research as in to read up about that and specifically look at that. Of course, in the book, you will come across a lot of topography, geology.
Yes, it is there. Even there are maps in the book, I think.
I had to put that, and that makes it easier for me, because sometimes I'm using older name for the current place, food, medicines, what they used, the herbs, the trees. I had to be more accurate on when I talk about trees in a particular region. I shouldn't put a coconut tree in the middle of a country, like those kind of things.
So, but more of the details or more of the data would be available till Ram and Sita they return home. To know about the life after that, if it was a happily ever after or was it whatever it turned out to be, how did you find out firstly about that, or what you have created is also some fragment of fiction? How would you say about that?
Yeah, the Uttarakanda. So the Valmiki Ramayana ends with Yuddha Kanda. There are 5 kands, and Balakand, Ayodhya Kand, the Aranya Kand, and all that. And then Yuddha Kand is how there are some later additions to Uttarakand. That is how we know about Lavakusha. Valmiki Ramayana does not talk about that. It's really the other Ramayana versions that talk about that. But there is also Padma Purana, Vishnu Purana, that also Skanda Purana also mentions this. Mahabharata also mentions where Vyasa tells the Pandavas when they were in exile, the rishis are telling Yudhishthira and the Pandavas about Rama's story and all that. So,
okay.
You could say that was the first Ramayana after Valmiki wrote. Somebody wrote about, but there are these kind of stories, and it does talk about like the end. How did Rama? What happened to really them at the end? How did they? Krishna is very well documented even in there, right? It very clearly Krishna and Balram ruled after a few years, and that's hunter who hunted, and then they gave up their life and all that. But for Rama, in the Ramayana, that original version, it is not there. It's a later addition. So
even their kids are not mentioned anywhere. They returned home and then they had kids. It's not mentioned anywhere. So even I've been hearing about Ramayana since I was a kid, and the animated version is also there. I don't know if it is available or not now, but I used to watch it back then. And even till I grew up, I did not know Rama also had sons later. I did not know. I got to know that much later. So, yeah. Really?
And by the way, Rama himself came to know much later that he. So, because by the time Sita had already.
But that is his life. As a reader, as an observer, or just as a curious person, even we don't get to know. I'm pretty sure that people who know about Ramayana may not be knowing that Ram did have sons later, the later phase of his life.
Yeah, and that Uttarakanda and other Puranas, like I said, Vishnu Purana, etc., mention not just Rama's. Lavakusha is now pretty much a lot of people know, or everybody knows Rama's sons, but nobody really knows Lakshmana's sons or Bharata's sons or Shatrugna's.
No, they don't.
So
and even I don't know about the others, but even I did not know Lakshmana had a twin. I did not know this. I got to know that from your book. So your book has been giving me a lot of enlightenment moments. There were many things.
Thank you. I've stayed true to. I didn't fictionalize those parts. My fiction really comes in that dialogue or conversation that Lakshmana has with his sons or with Lavakusha. They're seeking him out. Now remember, this is Lakshmana is already old by then, maybe in his 60s, and 60s back then would be like 80s now, right? So it's they are seeking him as a wise person, as a minister, as an elder statesman and all that. And he's kind of talking to them. So those are my fictionalized way. But what he's saying is either history or is in the Puranas. I've not made that part. The joining part is like some fiction there.
The dialogue is what you have created, but otherwise...
Yes. Otherwise, there won't be a story.
Makes sense. So since, as you stated, Lakshman would be roughly in his 60s or something. So there is kind of, I found that there is an element of nostalgia also. Like, the way he looks back and he smiles and he reminisces of all that has happened in his life. So when you decided to place the action of this book at that point in their life, did you have any specific objective in mind, or it was just an idea and you just worked on it?
Well, of course, since I'm writing, it's my idea. But from a story point of view, I had to make it as if what would Laukosha spoken to Lakshmana about? Well, naturally, they're more curious about their mother, Sita Devi, and who, Lakshmana has pretty much from the time that Sita got married to Rama, they were immediately exiled in the forest and all the way there. Lakshmana has always been with them. So he knows about her much, much more. So they are curious to know about her mother. Could Lakshmana's son talk to Lakshmana about, their mother, but of course, but more importantly about their uncle, Rama. So they're a little afraid to talk to Rama directly, and they're conversing with their father, which is Lakshmana, about what would Ram Chacha say, what they did, how did, So I made it a little more realistic. This is what anybody would do, right? Any young person would.
It actually happens that way. Wow.
Right. Really happened. So I kept it very natural that way. And then I used that to say as if Lakshmana is reminiscing his old times or actually narrating. More than reminiscing. Of course, he periodically falls into the reminiscing mode because, remember, he's an old person. Every old person, when they start talking, they'll digress a little bit and they'll go a bit and then they'll actually think back about something. So I've also kept the age factor in mind, but at the same time, the imagery of Lakshmana through books and through serials and animations is that he's this energetic, vibrant, fun, adventure action. So I did not want to stray too much away from that. It's just that the little controlled version of Lakshmana that I've portrayed, that's all.
And it actually matches according to the age also. Because with age, as a person grows older, they do become a little calmed down and they're not that person who's hungry for action. Like Lakshman is, as he narrates, when he looks back in his life, he's hungry for action, he has wanted action, and that is why he was very excited at the idea of action. So that is there. He has become old and he is thinking, this happened, and it was once upon a time, this was there, and it actually is reflected in the way you have written. So how long did you take to write, edit, and get it published?
Since a lot of inspiration and other things came, I'd say like end to end, the whole process took about 10 months. Sometime like last November, late November, December last year, I literally put the thought to, finally saying, okay, I'm going to write. I'd say about 3 months of research work, the pre-work, and because it's all great to sit wanting to write and having this loose idea, but how to write a book, how to write a story, how to get that, and then so that took about 3 to 4 months. The actual writing itself is about another 3 months. And remember, and frequently during writing, I had to change my approach and tactic because I'm questioning myself. I'm my critic because my wife has been instrumental in this process, and she would challenge some assumptions. I talked to my daughter and my father because I want to get every generation's perspective on this input. And perspective and whether it appeals to them and all that. So that process, and then once I finished the thing, the publishing and the post editing and all that, another 2 to 3 months, I guess, 3 to 4 months maybe. Yeah, so overall about 10 months.
You have mentioned in the book that you got the opportunity to talk about Ramayana at a school, if I'm not wrong. So what was that incident, and was that also a reason that you decided to write?
So that has been, I can see that you've read the foreword and
I read it cover to cover, literally. I mean, I did not skip any word of it. Even the characters and glossary, I read everything. I was that engrossed.
Thank you. Not many people pay attention to that, and
Yeah, I have a habit to do that.
Great. But so during COVID, when everything was virtual and other things, my manager in US, he had an American, and his wife was a school teacher, a primary school teacher. So he told me that, hey, his wife, the school kids were asking, like, they had their what we call non-detailed in English. They probably have something like that in primary. This is a primary school, and they had apparently a topic on Ramayana, it seems. And so he just asked me, do you know anything a little bit about it? My wife just wanted to have a quick call with you and just to understand. So yeah, sure, I'll help you, So, he set up a Zoom call, and I spoke to his wife, and she just asked a couple of questions that the students had asked her. But the way I spoke, she's like, you know what, wow, Raj, can I actually set up a Zoom call, and then why don't you talk to the kids, and maybe you're so I said, this is a great opportunity, to American kids, and these are primarily white kids, and a lot of them Jewish and a lot of them this thing, but they were just, I did not know all that when I said yes, but it was fun. So I pulled my daughter also, just the two of us spoke to them. They had done so many, they showed their drawing, they'd drawn Hanuman with the burning of Lanka with the tail. They had drawn Rama and Sita. Ravana is the most favorite for a lot of people to draw, because it just, you just keep doing it.
The 10 heads.
10 heads. Some kids even had only 6 heads, but hey, maybe Rama chopped your heads by then. Who knows? It was fun, it was various. But it was not very juvenile. They were actually, they read it. They apparently were deeply involved in it. And she set up for an hour, but it went almost close to 2 hours, and they were just non-stop questions after questions, and it was just coming. Luckily, what she had given me a heads up is that, hey, it's not just about Ramana. Can you also tell how today in India, you guys are still reading about it? Or do you still have something? Okay, so my daughter, printed out some pictures and other things that we still have. Our street names have, our city names have this thing. Our own names, we have, names. We have thousands and thousands of temples and all that. Then I also looked at abroad and see, in Thailand, in Vietnam, and Indonesia, what is influence? Not just that, but also in America, in the Grand Canyon in US, there is a Vishnu, Brahma's rock, Shiva's rock, and Vishnu's rock, and all that.
Okay.
And those know about it, and it's there, in Grand Canyon, their own name.
Wow.
And
there is so much to know even now.
There is. In COVID time, India shipped COVID vaccines to Brazil. Bolsonaro, who was the president of Brazil at that time, had commented that Modi, the prime minister was like Hanuman. He carried the Sanjeevani, and like that you have given us sense.
He gave that analogy? Really?
Yes, it's in the paper. So I took the paper clipping, and I put that also in the document that I sent it to them. Those kids were like, also, there is actually Ramayana all around us even now. It's not, and not just in India, in many, many parts of the world. So they, and so they really enjoyed, that. but that storytelling, thing has been there, and I always tell my daughter and my wife about like all of these things, and really it was them that pushed me to, you should write a book, and so that's sort of how.
So since the kids had already done so much of research, were there any such questions that even blew your mind? Yes, even they know this, something like that, or they asked you something that even made you think?
They not particularly, but it helped me connect to the imagery that they have in mind. When they could draw like Hanuman's heroism, Ram Setu, how did they build a bridge was a question. So luckily I had the NASA footage of the connection from Rameshwaram to this thing, right? So it's still there as a natural reef. This may or may not have been built by Rama, but that's exactly where they went. And the imagery that they have is probably what I used as, and you might have come across, using sometimes a colorful language to express it. And that imagery, constantly I wanted to use that. But that's how the kids are, and that's how the younger generation would like.
And your book is quite pictorial also. It is. I mean, it even if we are reading, there is a mental image that is formed to give the exact. In fact, you fill up the colors also. People the face and this color and you even done that. So it's pretty amazing the way you've written.
Yeah. That's right. So and then again at around the time of COVID and all that, some of my folks in my apartment community, I started a history club. I called it the Fourth Sangam. There's a history behind the naming, but that's okay. We generally talk about, like, anybody that's interested in history, we'll talk about topics, we'll come up with something, and then we'll generally talk. It's not very irregular meeting, but it's a social like something fun.
History discussion kind of a group. Great. So any message that you would like to give the book to the readers, or your vision about the impact that it will have on the people, not just in India, but since you reach the American audience also, so even them?
Well, I certainly didn't start writing a book by trying to give a message. I deliberately stayed away from it because I didn't want to sound preachy. Nobody would like one more preachy book.
Right.
But my own inspiration about this was, as I mentioned earlier, was the leadership styles of Rama and the thought leadership, the vision that he must have had, and how do you overcome those challenges, despite so many adversities. Okay, and above all, like, create something out of nothing. Like, they had no army. There are just two of them in search of Sita. He formed alliance with Sugriva. He motivated their own troops and led them to go to. Why should they listen to him? They have absolutely no connection. Well, how did he do that? So how does he motivate? Not just it's easy to motivate Ayodhya troops because you're their clan. This is not even their clan. And how did he motivate? How did the time-testing friendship say? So you could, today in modern politics, we could say the alliance that Vibhishana and Rama formed would have been an alliance of convenience. But no, they did true, genuine friendship, and he actually, literally was devoted and attached to him. And Hanuman left his own Vanara thing and came to stay with Rama later. So how does he motivate people? These leadership, modern management topics like this, and when I started exploring, the Sita's character a little bit, I saw the level of inclusivity, inclusive leadership, empowerment, gender equality. All of those things kind of came to me. And when I read Valmiki Ramayana, it gives so much respect to women that I felt like that society that we were at that time, we were gender equal. They probably called each other by their first name, and there is no disrespect in it. Now, for sake of readers' benefit, I've used the honorific Ram Bhaiya or this, but the four brothers are actually the same age, right? It is in the Purana that says that Dasharatha had all the four sons together. So if they are all the same age, there is no reason why they should call each other as Bhaiya, anything like that. But that's a modern Indian, modern name. I mean, somewhere of medieval to modern Indian. So the message here is, actually you can be respectful without actually trying to put artificial things. There is leadership traits for this. For history lovers, I have put a lot of, facts and things up from history that, that otherwise would be probably boring, but I've just connected it here. So for fiction readers, okay, forget all this. Simple, somebody who just likes fiction books, what I said. Yes, there is a lot of techniques of writing that I have used in, allegories, music reference, thrilling battles, and villains and heroes, and, poetry, imagery. There is just like tons of things that, they can just pick up, if not anything.
For everyone.
Yeah, there is something for everyone here. That's what I'm hoping, will appeal to somebody.
And you have done a great job, I have to say. That is for sure. Everyone will certainly find something or the other for themselves. Whether it is a history lover or fiction lover or an epic lover, whoever it might be, everyone is going to find something or the other. And with this, we come to the end of today's session. It was great talking to you, and it was great to hear your insights. So much to know about you and the work you've been doing. And I hope that there will be more inspiration to you to write further in the future, maybe some other point of view this time. And hopefully...
Thank you for the kind words, Akila. And I enjoyed talking to you because you're asking things I don't think about, or I didn't think about, and then making me think, oh, okay, that's what it is. So I'm hopefully your viewers, your followers here kind of get that perspective, and they
I hope that they have enough curiosity now to go and buy your book. Pretty sure it's available on Amazon, Flipkart. Is it available there?
It's available on Flipkart.
Do you have a website also where they can buy or maybe connect with you?
They can't buy from me, but they can definitely order through that, and they can connect with me. I have a blog. I mentioned that
great.
in the...
Great. I'll add the link in the description also so that they can check it out, and I'll add the link to the social media also.
Certainly. And
great connecting with you. And you were saying something?
No, I was saying Insta, Facebook. They can. There is ways to connect with me, and I'd be happy to chat about anything.
Great. So I'll share the links in the description. Great connecting with you. It was a pleasure to speak with you, and I hope we will speak again with whichever book you'll be writing next. And with this, I call the end for today's meeting. Hope to see you soon. All right.
Thanks for the wishes. Take care. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.